The acid rain sliced through the canopy of bioluminescent trees, hissing as it struck the makeshift shelter. Lieutenant Mara Bullet Reyes pressed her back against the twisted roots of an ancient gnarl tree, counting the seconds between lightning strikes. 14 days since the USS Valkyrie had been ambushed. 14 days alone on this godforsaken moon. Through gaps in the foliage, she could see the massive silhouette of the Iron Eclipse, the Veloci dreadnought that hung in low orbit like a grim reminder of her failure. They'd killed everyone else, her entire platoon, her friends. She closed her eyes, but the faces came anyway, laughing in the mess hall, training in the sim chambers, dying, screaming her name as the escape pod jettisoned with her inside. Bullet opened her eyes and checked her tactical display. 2 hours until the acid storm passed. 2 hours to plan her next move. "Not gonna die here," she whispered, her voice harsh from disuse. Her fingers traced the Marine Corps insignia on her tattered uniform. "Not gonna let them win." A sharp beep from her scanner jolted her to attention. Something had entered the atmosphere. Something big. She grabbed her scavenged macrobinoculars and aimed them skyward. The Veloci drop pod carved a burning path through the clouds, its distinctive angular shape unmistakable even through the toxic deluge. They were coming for her. Good. Let them come. Bullet gathered her minimal gear, a plasma rifle with 3 power cells, a combat knife, medical nanogel, and the improvised traps she'd fashioned from the Valkyrie's wreckage. The rain had stopped, giving way to an eerie silence broken only by the distant screeches of Zalaran wildlife. She moved with practiced precision through the jungle, her boots barely making a sound on the spongy undergrowth. The bioluminescent plants pulsed in blues and purples, casting ghostly shadows across her face. She reached the clearing where the drop pod would land and began to work. The scout emerged exactly where she expected. A towering figure in biomechanical armor, faceless behind a reflective helmet. The Veloci were renowned across the galaxy for their ruthless efficiency. This one moved with predatory grace, scanning the perimeter with multi-spectrum sensors. Bullet remained motionless in her hiding spot, controlling her breathing as the alien warrior passed within meters of her position. The trap was set. All she needed was patience. The scout triggered the pressure plate, and the makeshift explosive detonated with a thunderous roar. The blast caught the Veloci mid-stride, shredding through its reinforced plating. Bullet didn't wait to see the aftermath. She was already moving, knowing the kill squad would respond immediately. As she sprinted through the dense vegetation, her comm unit crackled to life for the first time in weeks. A harsh, metallic voice filled her ear. "Lieutenant Mara Reyes, we know you survive. Your resistance is noted. The full might of the Veloci kill squad has been authorized for your termination. We will honor your warrior spirit with a swift death." Bullet smiled grimly. "Come and try," she whispered, though they couldn't hear her. From the orbiting dreadnought, Commander Valon watched the feeds from his scout's final moments. His elongated fingers tapped a rhythmic pattern on the command console, the only outward sign of his irritation. Around him, 8 of the Empire's finest assassins prepared their equipment. "One human female," he said, his voice like grinding metal. "One survivor, causing such inconvenience." His second in command, Creve, inclined his head. "The scout underestimated her. Commander, we will not make the same mistake." "No," Velen agreed, his pupilless eyes narrowing. "You will not. I want her captured alive if possible. Dead if necessary. But I want to look into her eyes either way." The kill squad deployed in 4 teams of 2, each taking a different vector. Velen remained aboard the dreadnought, monitoring their progress. The human had killed one of his scouts. Protocol demanded her elimination. But something about her survival intrigued him. In centuries of combat, few had ever surprised him. Bullet moved deeper into the jungle, toward the thermal vents she'd discovered during her first week on Zalara Prime. The superheated steam would mask her heat signature and give her time to plan. As she navigated the treacherous terrain, Memories of Corporal Jax Donovan intruded on her thoughts. "You think too much, Bullet," he'd told her during their last training exercise. His easy smile flashed in her mind. "Sometimes you just gotta pull the trigger." "Not helping, Jax," she muttered, blinking away the vision. He wasn't really there. Jax had died on the Valkyrie, along with everyone else. A shadow moved to her left, and Bullet dropped instinctively. The sound of a discharge weapon sizzled through the air where she'd been standing. The Veloci were already closing in. She rolled behind a massive root structure, drawing her plasma rifle in one fluid motion. The shot caught the first Veloci operative in the shoulder, spinning him around. His partner returned fire, forcing Bullet to retreat deeper into the jungle. For 3 days, she led the kill squad on a deadly game of cat and mouse. She set traps using the caustic local flora, redirected predator calls to lure indigenous beasts into their path, and utilized her knowledge of the terrain to separate and isolate the hunters. On the 4th day, exhausted and running low on ammunition, Bullet stumbled upon a cave entrance hidden behind a waterfall of iridescent blue liquid. She checked for pursuers, then slipped inside. The cave opened into an enormous chamber filled with the remnants of an ancient civilization. Crystalline structures rose from the floor like frozen fountains, emitting a soft, pulsating light. Strange symbols were etched into the walls, depicting star maps and figures that looked neither human nor Veloci. "You should not be here, outsider." Bullet spun around, weapon raised. A slender figure emerged from the shadows, humanoid, but with 4 arms and skin that shimmered with the same bioluminescence as the jungle flora. The native's eyes were entirely black, reflecting the crystal light like polished obsidian. "I'm not looking for trouble," Bullet said cautiously, keeping her rifle ready. "Yet trouble follows you." The Zalaran tilted its head. "The Veloci Deathbringers desecrate our moon with their presence. And now you, human. They're hunting me. I'm the last survivor of my ship." "I am Talira." The Zalaran stepped closer, revealing intricate markings across its brow. "Once, I was a scholar of the ancient ways. Now, I guide those who would listen." "I'm Lieutenant Mara Reyes. My friends called me Bullet." "Curious name," Talira observed. "These ruins you've found are sacred. The moon spire. My ancestors built them to harness the energies of Zalara Prime." Bullet glanced nervously toward the entrance. "I can't stay long. The Veloci will track me here." "Perhaps that is why you were guided to this place." Talira moved toward one of the crystal formations. "These ruins contain power the Veloci do not understand, power that could aid you against them." Before Bullet could respond, her scanner beeped a proximity warning. The kill squad had found her trail. "They're coming," she hissed, taking cover behind a fallen column. Talira retreated into the shadows. "Watch and learn, human. The moonspire protects its own." 2 Veloci operatives entered the chamber, weapons drawn. Their armor gleamed in the crystal light as they scanned the ruins. Bullet held her breath, finger on the trigger. The first operative stepped onto a particular symbol on the floor, and the chamber resonated with a deep humming. Crystal shards detached from the ceiling, hovering momentarily before launching themselves like missiles. The Veloci tried to evade, but the crystals tracked their movement, piercing their armor with unexpected force. One fell immediately. The other managed to fire wildly before a larger shard impaled him through the chest. Bullet emerged from cover, stunned. "What just happened?" Talira reappeared, running 4-fingered hands over the wall symbols. The ancients were not defenseless. The moonspire responds to intention. Those who enter with conquest in their hearts find only death. "And what does it do to those like me?" "That," Talira said, "depends on what truly lies in your heart." Bullet. Over the next few days, Talira taught Bullet about the ruins and their technology. The Zalaran showed her how to activate defensive measures, how to use the crystal's resonance to disrupt Veloci scanning equipment, and most importantly, how to access the power grid that ran beneath the moon's surface. "Your enemies deploy more resources," Talira warned, after returning from a scouting mission. "Hover drones, psychic assassins, even bioweaponized flora from my world's own ecosystem. Bullet sat cross-legged before a crystal, watching it pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. They're getting desperate. No, Talira corrected. They are becoming more determined. There is a difference. The commander of the dreadnought has joined the hunt personally. Bullet's head snapped up. Velen? He's planetside? You know of him. I know his reputation. He's never failed to eliminate a target. Bullet stood, wincing at the pain from a wound she'd received in her last encounter with the kill squad. Which means I need to be the first. That night, Bullet's dreams were haunted by her fallen comrades. Jax Donovan stood before her, his face half gone from the explosion that had killed him. Why are you alive when we're all dead? Bullet, he asked, his voice echoing unnaturally. What makes you so special? She woke with a gasp, sweat-soaked and trembling. The PTSD episodes were getting worse. Sometimes, during firefights with the Veloci, she would freeze, caught in flashbacks so vivid she could smell the burning circuitry of the Valkyrie. Your mind fights itself, Talira observed, emerging from the shadows. The Zalaran never seemed to sleep. The memories of your lost ones bind you. I should have died with them, Bullet whispered. Yet you did not. And now? You must honor their sacrifice by surviving. Talira approached, holding out a small crystal that glowed with an inner blue fire. This will help you focus. The ancients used these to channel their thoughts during battle. Bullet accepted the crystal hesitantly. As her fingers closed around it, a sense of clarity washed over her. The faces of her dead comrades remained, but now they stood at her side rather than before her, lending their strength instead of draining hers. What is this? She asked, amazed. A focus crystal. It aligns your inner energy, your spirit. I didn't come here for mysticism, Bullet said, but she pocketed the crystal anyway. No, Talira agreed. You came here to survive. But to defeat the Veloci, you will need more than weapons. The next day, Bullet set her most ambitious trap yet. Using knowledge gained from Talira and tech salvaged from fallen Veloci operatives, she created a false energy signature that mimicked a human life sign. The bait was set near the thermal vents, where visibility would be poor. 3 Veloci assassins took the bait. Bullet triggered a localized earthquake using the ruins technology, opening a chasm beneath the vents. 2 of the assassins fell to their deaths. The third, more agile than his companions, leapt to safety, directly into Bullet's line of fire. With each elimination, the remaining Veloci became more cautious, but also more relentless. They no longer hunted alone or in pairs. They coordinated their efforts, using tactics Bullet recognized from her own military training. They adapt, Talira noted as they watched a Veloci patrol from the safety of a cloaking field. They learn from their failures. So do I, Bullet replied, loading her last power cell into the plasma rifle. Commander Vallon stood at the edge of a clearing, examining the remains of his psychic assassin. The human had somehow turned Zariah's own mental attack back on her, leaving nothing but a hollow shell. 5 of his elite operatives had fallen to this single Marine. Unprecedented, unacceptable. Commander! Krev approached, his armor scorched from a recent encounter. We've located the ruins the human uses as sanctuary. The local has been assisting her. Vallon's eyes narrowed. Deploy the full arsenal. No more games. No more honor duels. I want that human and the traitor Zalaran eliminated. And the ruins? If they cannot be claimed for the Empire, they will be destroyed. The attack came at dawn. Hover drones swarmed the entrance to the Moonspire, deploying sonic weapons that cracked the ancient stones. Behind them came the remaining Veloci operatives, led by Krev. Bullet and Talira had prepared. As the drones penetrated the outer chamber, they triggered a cascade of crystal shards. The sonic weapons were effective against stone, but useless against the energy-absorbing properties of the crystals. Krev and 2 operatives made it through the defensive perimeter. They encountered Talira in the main chamber, standing before the largest crystal formation. Surrender the human, traitor, Krev demanded. Your death will be merciful. Talira's four arms moved in complex patterns, activating glyphs on the chamber floor. My people were here before your empire crawled from the cosmic dust. Veloci, we will be here when it returns to that dust. Bullet attacked from behind, catching one operative with a knife throw to the neck joint of his armor. The second turned to fire, but Bullet was already moving, using the focus crystal to maintain perfect clarity amid the chaos. Krev was faster than the others, anticipating her movement and countering with a strike that sent her sprawling. Her rifle skittered across the floor, out of reach. Lieutenant Mara Reyes, Krev said, advancing on her prone form. Your resistance ends here. A crystal shard impaled Krev from behind. Talira stood with hands outstretched, directing the ruins' defenses. Go! Bullet, the inner chamber, the power core. Bullet scrambled to her feet as Krev, mortally wounded but still dangerous, fired at Taliri. The shot caught the Zalaran in the chest, sending the slender form crashing into a wall. No, Bullet screamed, retrieving her rifle and emptying it into Krev's armor. The Veloci collapsed, but the damage was done. Bullet rushed to Talira's side. The Zalaran's bioluminescence was fading, pulses of light growing weaker with each heartbeat. The inner chamber, Talira whispered. The energy crystal. It can overload, create a beacon, blind them all. I'm not leaving you, Bullet insisted. Talira's four hands grasped Bullet's shoulders. Honor my sacrifice. As you honor your fallen, survive, Bullet, tell the truth of what happened here. With a final pulse of light, Talira's eyes dimmed. Bullet gently lowered the Zalaran's body, then retrieved the focus crystal from her pocket. It glowed brighter than before, as if it had absorbed Talira's fading energy. I'll make it count, she promised. The inner chamber lay at the heart of the moonspire, accessible only through a narrow passage lined with glyphs. Bullet navigated it carefully, aware that Velen himself would be closing in. The chamber beyond was dominated by a massive crystal formation that rose from floor to ceiling, pulsing with multicolored light that seemed to follow a pattern similar to a heartbeat. Bullet approached the crystal, recalling Talira's teachings. This was the heart of the ruins, the power source that had sustained the ancient Zalaran civilization. It could be overloaded, creating a massive energy discharge that would blind and disorient anyone within its radius. She began activating the sequence, pressing glyphs in the pattern Talira had shown her. The crystal's pulsing increased in tempo, colors shifting toward the blue end of the spectrum. Impressive. Bullet spun around. Commander Velen stood in the chamber entrance, his imposing figure silhouetted against the passage. Unlike his operatives, he wore minimal armor, revealing a physique of corded muscle and reinforced bone. His eyes glowed with an inner light similar to the crystal's. Most humans would have died in the first day, he continued, stepping into the chamber. Yet here you stand, after decimating my elite squad, I find myself curious. Bullet kept her position by the crystal, which continued its accelerating pulse. Curious enough to die for it? Villan's lipless mouth curved in what might have been a smile. The energy buildup you've initiated, an overload, yes? Clever, but not clever enough. He raised a hand, revealing a device strapped to his wrist. This will dampen the discharge, and then we will conclude our business. Why did you attack the Valkyrie? Bullet demanded, buying time as the crystal approached critical levels. We were on a peaceful research mission. Your ship violated Veloci territory, human. No warnings were given because none were deserved. Lies! Bullet spat. We were in neutral space. You attacked us because we discovered something about the Veloci that the galaxy isn't supposed to know. Velon tilted his head. And what would that be? That you're not the superior species you claim to be. That your genetic perfection is a fraud. You're dying out. That's why you're so desperate to claim worlds like Zalara Prime. You're looking for a cure. A flash of genuine emotion crossed Velon's alien features. Anger. Fear. Confirmation? The records on your ship were most thorough, he admitted. Your scientists had connected patterns we have spent centuries concealing. Your Marine platoon was Unfortunate collateral. They were people, Bullet shouted, with lives and families, and you slaughtered them to protect your secret. Sacrifices are made in war. Lieutenant, even you understand this concept. The crystal behind Bullet had reached a fever pitch of activity, its pulsing now a continuous glow that bathed the chamber in harsh blue light. Yeah, Bullet agreed, her hand closing around the focus crystal in her pocket. I do understand sacrifice. She pressed the final glyph, then thrust the focus crystal directly into the larger formation. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. Energy surged through the chamber in a blinding flash, overloading Velen's dampening device and sending him crashing against the far wall. Bullet, prepared for the discharge, had closed her eyes at the critical moment. When she opened them, the chamber was filled with dancing spots of light, like fireflies made of pure energy. Velen was struggling to rise, temporarily blinded by the overload. She tackled him with all her strength, driving them both into the passage beyond. They tumbled down the narrow corridor, a tangle of limbs and desperate strikes. Despite his disorientation, Velen's natural strength was formidable. He caught Bullet with a backhand that sent her sprawling. I will tear you apart with my bare hands, he snarled, advancing on her. Bullet scrambled backward, reaching for any weapon. Her fingers closed around a crystal shard dislodged by their struggle. As Velen lunged, she drove the improvised weapon into his throat, finding the gap in his natural armor. Ichor sprayed across her face as Velen clutched at the wound, his eyes wide with shock. He tried to speak, but only a gurgling sound emerged. That's for Jax, Bullet said coldly, and for everyone else on the Valkyrie. The commander of the Veloci kill squad collapsed at her feet, the light fading from his eyes. In death, he seemed smaller somehow, less terrible. Bullet retrieved her knife from his belt. Her knife, which he had taken as a trophy from one of his fallen operatives. With grim determination, she made her way back to the main chamber. The massive energy discharge had done more than blind the Veloci. It had activated the ruins' full systems, illuminating ancient displays and controls that had lain dormant for millennia. Among them was a communication array powerful enough to penetrate the electromagnetic interference that had prevented her from contacting potential rescuers. Using components from Velen's equipment and her own technical training, Bullet rigged an emergency beacon that would broadcast on all standard frequencies. Then she recorded a message detailing everything: the unprovoked attack on the Valkyrie, the Veloci's secret genetic deterioration, and their attempts to cover it up. As dawn broke, light filtered through the damaged dome of the moonspire, casting long shadows across the ruins. Bullet stood among the fallen, her uniform torn and bloodied, but her spirit unbroken. The beacon transmitted steadily, its signal growing stronger as it connected with the ancient power grid that spanned the moon. In her hand, she held the dog tags of her fallen comrades, recovered from Velen's collection of trophies. Jax's was on top, the metal scratched but still legible. Mission accomplished, Corporal, she whispered. We're going home. 3 days later, the first rescue ship appeared in Zalara's orbit, not military, but a civilian research vessel that had picked up her distress call. By then, the Iron Eclipse had retreated to Veloci space, its mission a catastrophic failure. The researchers found Lieutenant Mara, Bullet Reyes, sitting amid the ruins, surrounded by the bodies of the galaxy's most feared assassins. She was dehydrated, wounded, and exhausted, but very much alive. One human against an elite Veloci kill squad, the lead researcher said in disbelief as they treated her injuries. How did you survive? Bullet's gaze drifted to the crystal formation at the heart of the ruins, still pulsing with inner light. She thought of Talira, of Jax and her platoon, of all who had sacrificed so that she could live to tell their story. They made a mistake, she said simply. They thought they were the hunters. As the rescue ship lifted off, carrying Bullet and her evidence of Veloci atrocities, the crystals of the moonspire pulsed once more in a pattern that resembled a farewell. Below, in the bioluminescent jungle, life continued its ancient rhythms, indifferent to the drama that had played out among the ruins. The truth about the Veloci would soon spread throughout the galaxy, changing the balance of power forever. And the legend of the lone Marine who had turned the most elite alien kill squad into prey would inspire generations to come. Lieutenant Mara Bullet Reyes looked out at the stars, finally allowing herself to grieve for the lost and to hope for the future. She had survived, she had prevailed, and she had honored the sacrifice of those who had fallen so that the truth could live. The biggest mistake of the Veloci's lives hadn't been hunting her. It had been leaving her alive to hunt them back.